about GrantWorks first. GrantWorks is the largest and the most successful of the grant consulting companies within the state of Texas. What we have is we have over 70 people who work for the company who are experts in the field of grants, all different types. Unlike some of our competitors, we are a full-service company. We handle all types of grants and not just community development block grants, which is what the majority of consultants do. I don't want to go into too much in depth on all the different types of grants they are. We gave you a binder that has an explanation of all the different types of grants that we write the applications for and we administer. The community, a quick overview, the community development block grants are for infrastructure. It's your water and your sewer, those types of things that you need to have done within the city. You've got hazard mitigation. If the city is part of the Bexar County's hazard mitigation plan, that allows you to get sirens, portable generators, safe rooms. It allows you to fix areas that have continual flooding in them. Every time there's an incident, it actually fixes the problem. It just doesn't do what FEMA allows on disasters is to bring it back to the condition it was before it was damaged. It doesn't allow you to go fix the underlying problem. Hazard mitigation funds do that. There's parks and recreation grants. I don't think I need to discuss exactly what that is, but there's grants available for you to develop parks in your area. There's capital fund grants. What that is that helps you to, if you have businesses are interested in coming in, it allows the city to get grants that you can then pass on to the business, and it helps them as far as their expenses of building. It's usually for the off-site work that needs to be done by the business. So you're able to offer that to a business, which is important because now you're going to be able to save them money in coming into your community. So it's a nice thing for you to be able to offer. TxDOT, local grants, comprehensive planning. I put a book here for you to kind of look over. Something probably that the city should look at, because if you haven't already done a planning grant, this actually takes the way things are now and then the way you want them to be in the future. It deals with water, sewer lines, manholes, it's zoning issues, all the different types of things. So if you have a chance, take a look at it. I'm going to take it with me when I leave, but I'll give you a chance to look through it. What we're going to ask you to do today is to name GrantWorks as your grant advisor. Now, that doesn't mean you're hiring us to administer your grants. That's not legal to do that. What that means is we're going to advise you. We're going to sit down with you and learn what it is your goals are for your city. And then we're going to try and identify grants that are available to you, give you an idea of what those cost so that you can then begin to plan. You know, okay, you can't do these things this year, but next year you can say these are the things we would like to accomplish. This is what it would cost us, and you can put that into your budgets as the time goes by. Every grant that you receive, you will need to go out for a request for proposal. That means that is sent out to all these different grant companies, and they're hopefully going to send you in proposals that say, we will administer this grant for you, and this is what we will do for you. These are the costs. Now, I will tell you that administrative fees for a grant come from the grant. It's not something the city has to pay for. I will also tell you that GrantWorks, for 98% of our grants, does not charge a city or a county to write an application. So there is nothing from the city's pocket that's going to come out of your budgets until you actually have a grant that's been approved. And a great many of those grants, as far as administration fees, will not come from the city. There will be match on most of the grants. There will be a match. That is dependent on a lot of different things. So, but those are things you'll know before you decide to move forward with it. So what we're going to ask you to do today is to name GrantWorks as your advisor, and then develop this relationship that we hope carries you forward and helps to build the community as we go into the future. A lot of different grants available to you. One of the first things we're going to do is we're going to check to see what your low to moderate income score is. You were not a city during the 2010 census, which is what that was taken from. So your low to moderate score will depend a lot about what is available to you. We have a survey department, and we do that at no cost to you. We will ask you to send out notices and let people know that people may be knocking on their door. Please don't shoot them. And you know, they'll be asking information about income for the household itself. And this is one of those times where the more people who are low to moderate incomes, the better it is for the city. So I did check Elmendorf. Elmendorf was at 47.1441 from the 2010 census. So you might have a general idea if you think you're a little less than them or a little more than them. So it's something we would work on. So we would very much hope that you would decide on GrantWorks. We'd like to move forward with your new city.
So your firm would do the survey for the LMI?
For the LMI, yeah.
And there's no cost for that? Okay.
GrantWorks has all types of departments. We have an engineering department, an environmental department, we have a PD department, a hazard mitigation, a disaster, and it goes on, and we have a survey department. A survey for our full service clients. Now, we don't do this for people who are not full service clients, but we do it for full service. We do not charge for our survey. So we will do everything we can to bring you up to that 51% threshold, because that's the magic number.
Right. And the CDBG, those funds, you're talking about the federal pool, or you're talking about the county pool for CDBG grants?
That's
The state pool.
state, yes.
State.
This comes from the state. Grants for CDBG come from the state
Okay.
to the city. Starts federally, goes to the state, then to the cities. That's the pool of money that you're trying to be competitive with for your COG for your area. So a certain amount of money is going to go for each one of the areas within the state, and so you're in competition with those people. So
But I understood that Bear County,
Bear County is different.
okay,
You're a city into yourself. Bear County and the city of San Antonio receives its own money.
right,
They don't compete for grants. They have their own money and they do what they want to. Bear County, being the size that it is, I'm guessing receives its own money. You are a small city. You are going to be able to get your own grants, not from the county and not from the city of San Antonio.
okay, thank you.
Just you.
Perfect.
And just to clarify, on the grant match, work in kind can be substituted for actual dollar quantities.
In some of the grants, that's absolutely true.
Yes,
Not
ma'am.
all of them, but some of them, yes. In kind can be used as match.
Can you define in-kind?
Okay, it depends upon the grant. You can donate land. You can have people who will donate their time and efforts. Depending upon their qualifications is what their hourly wage is going to be computed at. If they don't have a great deal of background in something, then they'll be, you know, the lowest income level. If you've got a plumber that's working on the job and he's doing plumbing for you, they're going to get plumbers that rate. So,
Waiving of fees that the city might
yes,
otherwise
absolutely.
charge.
That's what was the other thing I was going to say. If you have fees that you normally charge, tap fees for water and sewer, building fees, all of those types of things, electrical fees,
Plan reviews,
yeah,
site
any of those
preparation.
things you can use as part of your match for in-kind.
On the homeowner rehab assistance program, probably better than 90% of the homes in the city are mobiles.
Mhm.
Would those qualify?
Okay.
And-
You want me to answer this?
And
Okay.
an add-on to that,
Okay.
just so that you can answer both at the same time. They need to be mortgage-free.
No, they do not have to be mortgage fee. The lending institution has to allow it to be done. Because in this case, what happens is the dwelling is torn down and a new house is built. It can be a mobile home. It can't be a trailer, but it can be a mobile home. And a new house, stick-built, is going to be built to replace it.
So their existing mortgage would just carry over to.
That's exactly right.
You'd be providing them a new home free of charge under the grant.
That's right.
But their existing mortgage would just transfer over.
It transfers over,
Yeah.
right. They are never hurt by this, other than their taxes are probably going to go up. But they're not hurt by this. They don't lose any title, any ownership in the property. They're just going to get a new, safe home to live in.
So surely all that would need to be explained before you tear their house down and explain to them that you're probably paying $200 a year this year in property taxes.
Yeah.
Once we build this home, you may be paying $2,000.
And I do want to tell you that when the home division comes in and does an application intake, that is said not once, not twice, but about 15 or 16 different times during the initial, during the second round, the third round, and the final round. They are told over and over again that their taxes are probably going to go up. So they're aware of this.
Right, because you're talking about low income to begin with.
Absolutely.
Qualified.
That's
And
exactly
you've got
right,
a
yeah.
Tax burden.
No, we never want anyone to be surprised by anything, so we are very upfront about all of this. So,
Kind of like living that $450,000 dream.
yeah, and then having to pay the taxes on it. But the other thing is if they have a dwelling that they've got any kind of, senior citizens, whatever, those will carry on to it. So, that is going to continue with it. So we do
And the
let them know about
individual
that.
who receives is provided temporary dwelling,
No.
not anymore?
Since they provide their own, move their own.
Yeah, they have to move their own things and they have to find a place to live during the construction period. I will tell you, and Donna will say the same thing, is that we're really good at putting these houses up. We've got builders that have been building for quite some time. They understand the house. It's the same house we go for everybody. But I don't want to get into it too much because Donna's going to tell you a whole lot about that program. But all of these other programs that are available to you, I really hope you'll read about them because there's some amazing things that you can do from a community where grant money is available to you. Now, I'm saying that, but remember that 51% level there is something that's important. But you may not be able to help all of the city, but you may be able to help certain areas of it, and because that area is at a 51% level.
What is the legal distinction between a trailer and a mobile home?
If you can put it on the back of your truck and drive it around, it's a trailer.
Okay.
Other than that,
Right.
yeah.
It's gotta hurt.
So these books you're going to
Okay.
pick up afterwards?
No, not those. That book right there.
So
that's-
I see, well, we have a park that we're interested in. I know
I know you've got a
So
park
we have this
that's
Texas
under
Park and
construction.
Wildlife Department local parks program for small community outdoor parks. They have application fee of $3,000 and they have, you match with cash, land, or in kind. So that $3,000 will come up with. And then,
The $3,000 is one of those rare instances where it's an application fee to GrantWorks. And the reason for that is there's no administration fee. It's, this small park stuff is something you will get the money for, and you will say in advance what it is you want to do with it, and then.
I guess
you
where I'm
will-
going is, and then there's another grant for 75% of the cost,
Large.
25% of total project cost for Park and Wildlife sewage pump out grant. So not across the board do you have, it's not going to come out of pocket. You have some, so how about if, just supposing, that you cannot, you're advising us and we cannot get one where that doesn't require an application fee or it has a percentage. So how, I mean, if we don't get a grant, because we're competing, how are we going to pay you out a certain
And
amount
then,
of
yes,
money?
you will, and then the next time we'll put it right back in again. So,
Well, how much do you charge per hour for that if we
No,
don't?
we don't do an hourly fee, it's a $3,000 flat fee.
Yeah, can I help?
Yes.
I'm trying to say, if you
Can I
can't
help?
find us
She's
free
over here going,
money,
Let me help.
she's going to help you.
Let me help. She's back here going, I'm Donna Johnson, and I'm with GrantWorks. I'm trained at council meetings to identify myself to the person that takes the minutes, the clerk.
Okay, thank you.
Identify yourself. Okay, so first I want to say, I want to back up just a little bit and talk about that park. Okay, so let's say that we did that. Let's say you paid us $3,000 and we put that parks grant in, and it didn't get funded.
Uh-huh.
Let's go there.
Yeah, that's where I want to go.
Yeah, that's where I want to go too. It doesn't get funded. And we come back and we see what the scores are and how, where it failed, what happened. So then the next time that grant is available, because they do them periodically twice a year, what we would do is work to increase that score and resubmit it. We're not going to charge you again.
Yeah, so the application fee $3,000, so we just pay that once.
One time.
That's right. That's right. So we're not going to charge it again. If it doesn't get funded, we're just going to tweak that grant and submit it again to get it funded for you.
But let me tell you too.
How many times do you tweak the grant?
You need to know that we're going to try and pre-score you before we even put the
Right.
application in.
So that's where I'm going to go right now. So with the grant, so let's talk about the competitive grants. And I'll just be blunt with you because that's how I am. Y'all love me. I just, pretty straight. So we're not going to charge you a fee. We're not going to put a monthly retainer in place with you. We're not going to do any of that stuff, right? So where are we making our money? How are we making money?
Yeah, I want to know that.
Yeah, of course you do, right? This is just too damn good to be true, So when it comes to the competitive grants, we're not interested in submitting competitive grants that we know are not going to get funded, right? So that's one thing. I mean, that's just straight, So I know that you're in the Alamo area. I know that the priorities in the Alamo area are water and sewer. Now, the CDBG grants can be used to pave your streets. They can be used to do your ditch digging, clean drainage and all of that. But we know that the scoring priorities are water and sewer. And we know that you're going to compete with Elmendorf, Devine, Pleasanton, and everybody else that's in the Alamo area, right? So if they're applying for water and sewer, and you're applying for drainage, they're going to score higher. You're not going to get funded, right?
So are those people your clients as well? I mean, are you,
We have some clients in the Alamo
so we're
area.
competing against other clients of yours?
We have some clients in Alamo area, but not many. So, and I'll just be honest, and for us, we want you to get funded. That's our thing, So I'm not gonna, and again, why would I come to you and tell you, yeah, let's submit a grant if I know you're not gonna get funded?
You want to get paid?
Of course I do. Exactly, that's exactly right. So if I'm not gonna charge a fee to write it, And there are consultants who will come here and say, hey, you know what? Let me be your consultant, put me on a retainer, and I'll apply for every grant in the world. And you can pay me $3,000 a month, and I'll apply for every grant in the world. You're not going to get any of those. Or you may get some of them, but you're probably not going to really pay for me. So that's the one I want to take.
Okay.
Can we go back to the park?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, hide your eyes,
The
Nikki.
park is the Abbott Park right now, which is under construction, that you're trying to fix up, is that correct?
Well, yeah, but
We've got that
let's,
part.
my question is, so we pay the $3,000. You apply for grants for the park. Doesn't get funded. So you tweak it and you apply again. How many tweaks do we get for that
we'll do that.
3,000?
We'll do that for a while.
What's a while?
Until it gets funded.
5,
pretty much.
10, 15,
I said
20?
years can go by, right? Because you can only apply once a year.
I say this to you because we're really good at getting the parks funded.
I'm not questioning that. I'm just asking how many tweaks.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, well, I'm not sure. I think we just, since I've been at GrantWorks, which has been almost 15 years, I think we've had to go back and tweak one.
Okay,
And we actually didn't write it. So,
okay, that's fair.
that's not, no, I just lied to you. There was the town I grew up in, we submitted theirs, and it didn't get funded. We came back and.
But if it took 5 tweaks or 6
Exactly, we
tweaks,
would do it.
you would do it?
We would do it.
For
Absolutely.
the initial 3,000?
Absolutely, we would.
If it took that long to tweak, shouldn't we go to another?
Yes, you should.
Because if it's not working and you're going 6 years without anything.
Exactly. You should fire us.
It's not working.
You should get rid
But
of
our
it.
3,000 is already spent.
For that particular
Yeah.
project?
She
But-
did say that they do pre-assess whether or not it's something that,
We're not going to spend, okay. The thing you should understand is that we're not making money off of park grants. $3,000 will probably not cover the time and everything that it takes to write that application and process it and do what needs to be done. And we don't make money off of 90% of the grants that we do. The money that we make, where we make the majority of our money, is off the community development block grants. And that, again, is an administration fee that is part of the grant, okay? So we do these other grants because the owner of our company decided a long time ago that he wanted to help the clients, our clients, work on the whole city, not just CDBG, but downtown revitalization, parks, and hazard mitigations, and all of those other ones. So he does it knowing that, hopefully we're going to get the CD business, because without that, we're not going to be making money. That's just being as honest as I can be about it.
And we have worked ourselves out of a job.
Yeah.
It's true. The city of Stanton, which is out in West Texas, we literally worked ourselves out of a job.
Because we took care of all of them.
Yeah. It was like, well, there's nothing we can do.
But we're just poor country folk. And we're just trying to get a grasp on it.
Oh,
That's okay.
and then you're asking the right questions, and you're
Yes, no,
asking.
you are.
I like strokes, thank you.
Yeah. No, it's the right question, just do
No,
it.
no, no, and you're asking the right questions. You're a brand new city, and this is all brand new for you.
Yeah.
And it's really, I imagine, overwhelming for all of you. Learning about the Open Meetings Act, Texas is flawed, all of this.
And clogs and RRCs, and I understand that because I am relatively new to all of this. And when I first started, it was like a foreign language to me with all of these acronyms and all this stuff that's
Yeah.
going on. So,
So
I mean, I still understand your pain. I absolutely do.
So what we're wanting to do in this is, hey, this is who we are, this is what we have to offer you. We'd like to work with you. And whatever fees we have, we will negotiate with you before we do that. So there's not, you're completely in control at all times.
You will never be surprised by it because you're going to have everything up front. Think about it this way. Your council here has the opportunity to hire close to 70 experts in this field. Not just Dawn and I standing up here, but close to, about 65 additional people standing up here. And you don't have to pay our salaries, and you don't have to pay the burden that goes along with that.
You
So-
don't have to deal with their own data.
That's right. And it's really an excellent opportunity to help the city move forward, really is. So, any other questions that we can answer for you?
Any references? I mean, like, you know, so
It's in the book.
They're all in the book.
Which one, this one?
Yes.
Yeah,
So those are your references.
Oh,
yeah, there are references here.
If
There
you
should
would
be
like-
names and
It's
addresses.
there's so
Okay.
much information in
It's
it.
overwhelming.
If you would
So I hate
like,
to make a decision.
Yeah,
here.
if
It's overwhelming.
if
Here's
you would
the
like
name of the book.
additional, if you would like additional references, we can give you hundreds of them. But, because we do the whole state of Texas. But I try to pull out, you know, some of them are in the general vicinity of where you're at. So, counties, cities. Any other questions?
When you advise, do you advise the whole council or just one person, like your administrator?
We would talk to Ken, to Mr. Roberts. We would call him up.
So you've done this stuff before, right, Ken?
Yes.
Okay.
And he worked with us, actually.
Really? Okay, okay.
So what we would do is, because we're constantly monitoring, and so this is where Charlene would sit down with Mr. Roberts and get that list of what has the council said they want to do, right? What are the council's priorities, where they want to go? And then we would put that on our radar, that as we're monitoring grants, we have resources, you know? Stuff starts popping up, we say, oh, this might be good for Sandy Oaks, let's give Ken a call. Or send him an email, this is available now, do you want to go for it or not?
And then he'll get with everybody at that
But we
point.
would take our direction directly from him.
And is there a grant cycle? I mean, do they all
Yes.
pretty much start about the same time? No?
Different programs have their own cycles.
Okay.
So like the CDBG, the water sewer stuff, that's on a 2-year cycle now. So we're gearing up for that. They're going to be due October-ish
Okay.
this year. And then they fund every 2 years.
So applications for that would be,
Oh, that's when they do February. Okay, February 2017.
But we're in the process
Um,
now of identifying what people's needs are and wants are, and we will begin writing applications sometime in October to turn in.
If I were you, oh, go ahead.
well, no, I was just thinking, so the applications are due in February.
About that
Money
time.
wouldn't be awarded till what, October?
Oh,
And
no.
it would be funded.
Please. You know, we're dealing with federal funds. So, it's so cute. No, they'll let us know that summer when they're going, what they're going to fund, and they'll fund in a 2-year. So one group
2
of
years.
people will get funded that first year, and then another group of people, those lower scoring people, will get funded the second year.
In the second.
In their, if they're funded. So you could potentially start something at the end of 2017 if you're in the first tier funding. But it could also be at the end of 2018.
Okay, so that's CDBG, which,
That's CDBG.
Now, but before we go away from that.
Okay.
So at that same funding cycle time is where the planning grant comes in. And this is this booklet that Charlene was talking to you about. Now, I don't know if you guys pass this around and look at this. You see that nice, pretty map?
please don't take it away.
Oh, it's the only one I have.
Yeah, nice pretty map. And you see this nice pretty map right here? This is talking about your housing stock. So a planning grant, and he's very familiar with this, it's like having a plan for your city, right?
like a master plan?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Everybody needs a plan. Everybody needs to know where we are and where we're going to go. But that planning grant, that funding cycle is happening also at the same time for the planning grant. If I were you, and I'm not you, I don't even live here. I live somewhere else with my own gals. I would really think about the planning grant if you really wanted to get your feet wet in this business.
Is that CDBG?
It's going to fall into that general funding, but it's its own separate category called the planning grant. What will happen,
We applied for that and we were approved the Commissioner's Court, but when it came time for funding, they said, you don't meet the LMI.
right, because they didn't come out and survey you.
But see, that was
We were-
county, that was the county.
that was the
bonus.
county.
You're telling
That was
us
the county.
city handles the CDBG money.
Right, so you're in a confusing place.
Yeah, we are.
Because you are in Bear County. San Antonio is an entitlement city. They get a check from HUD every year, here's your money. Then Bear County is what's called, correct me, because I'm getting out of my whole area here. Yeah, I have very limited knowledge on, I specialize in housing. But that falls under the MSA, right? With that entitlement money. But, so that is stuff that's not incorporated in Bear County, right? Right? So, because, and you could go into with them if you wanted to, I think you kind of have some choices. But you are your very own incorporated city now, which means you don't have to go through Bear County to get anything. You can say, no, I'm a city. I'm going straight to the General Land Office, and I'm going to deal directly with Texas Parks and Wildlife, or with, Texas Department of Housing, or whoever it is you want to do. If your LMI is a problem, that's because the census wasn't done, nobody does it. So in order for you to get funded for either a planning grant or that CDBG, that survey's got to get done.
Right.
That's the first thing.
And we'll do it.
That is.
We will come and do the survey.
And
See, I think
the-
we applied under, as soon as we became a city, we applied. Prior to becoming a city, the HOA tried to get it under the county. They were told, because they weren't a city, they didn't qualify. So
Right.
as soon as we became a city, they applied, but it was through the county. And then the county county was gonna get money, and then they told us we didn't need to perform.
Right. Because they're big.
So we were misled.
Well, and they're big, and they're going to be very interested in, they're more higher population, denser, richer,
Yes.
or just
Or
more
poorer.
influence.
Do you entertain the idea that's where their voters are?
Yeah, you probably, yes, I think that may have a little something to do with it too.
Yeah, I was actually quite surprised when I sat in the meeting back in December. I think it was in December. And people getting funding were like Leon Valley, like, and I'm thinking, and Kirby, and I'm thinking, those are big,
Right.
or my perception of them obviously
Right.
is something different
But
than
you
what they
are unique. I'm just telling you, because you are a rural community. So you're right next to this huge metropolitan area. Texas and the Texas state agencies really focus on rural Texas. We're the backbone of Texas as a whole, let's just face it. We are. Yeah. We're who holds everything up, But, and there's so much that is targeted just for rural Texas, and you're rural. Because rural is about your population size, not about how far you are from things. And I was going someplace else with this rural thing too. I've lost it. Okay, moving on.
I do want to tell you that if you decide, if we get you to the 51% magic number, and you decide you want to do the planning grant, one of the things that we will ask you to do is 6 months in advance, you pass a resolution developing a citizens advisory committee. And the reason for that is it's our little way of getting you extra points. And so,
Because we know what we're doing.
yeah, I really, and I can tell you of the 20 planning grants that were awarded last round, 18 of them went to GrantWorks clients. So we're pretty good at figuring out what to do to raise the scores of our clients.
I always tell, when I talk to the state, I always tell them I'm stealing this. I'm the consultant. My job is to push that envelope of the rules as far to the edge of the table as possible without it falling off.
We want you to get grants. Bruce's whole thing is he never wants money of any sort to go to anyone, back to the state or the federal government ever. He wants to use every penny that's available, and he wants it all to go to our clients. That's just the way he is.
Yep, we went.
So like I said, he's put together a very large company, people who are ex-directors of TVA,
Perfect.
Think about
ex-city
water,
managers.
sewers, we're on sewer waste on septics.
Right, that's okay. So,
Guess what?
guess what? You can apply for a CDBG grant and address sewer. It's called Off-Site Sewer Facilities, OSSF, because you don't have an actual citywide sewer system in here. So we could come in and we could replace failing septic tanks. You could get a grant specifically to replace those. Now, there's a trick, there's a caveat to it, right? Rich people don't get to participate, gotta be poor.
It's a low
But it's at an 80% 80% of the median income, which is actually pretty high, because you're in Bear
Bear
County.
County.
Are there any programs that address access to the internet?
No. Those are gonna come through your pod.
We have a lot of folks that.
Those come through the pod.
We were talking about that today. I was at a rural conference in Waco. And TVA put out a notice
The enhancement grant.
about, a month, 2 months ago or something. And they're working on internet service for small communities, but we have no notification that there's any funding on it. We don't know how it's going to work, but it's something that they're looking into.
I know you said once a grant is awarded, y'all don't administer the grant, but
Well,
what
we
about the RFPs? Do you help with that, or
We
is
do
that-
everything for you. We hold your hand through the whole thing. We are with you from the beginning to after the construction is completed and still there through the monitoring 5 years later if it's necessary. So
It would be unethical for us to
we can't,
participate
Yeah.
in the actual hiring of ourselves,
yeah.
because that would not work out. But what we can do, and we will do, is provide you with sample documents of how to do that and some sample directions. And then we have to step away.
Okay,
And then you go through your process.
okay. Okay, and that's even for, I guess, it's for whatever amount it's,
You as a
Not
city
$50,000.
get to set up some of your own procurement, so the state is going to tell you that if you're procuring for things that are $50,000 or more, then you need to go through a procurement process. You as a city get to determine what it is, you set your limits for, but
Right.
it can be lower than that,
Right.
that you want to procure for. You can, generally things that are $3,000 or just sole source, and you don't have to go through a procurement process for that. So it's kind of, and that's the guy, he's the guy with the letters by his name. I don't have those.
Yeah, I know.
He went to school. he
Yeah,
knows.
it is.
Not the SOB letter.
I have a PhD.
Well, thank you. I think that's been very informative.
Yeah, so do we want to talk about the next item?
We do.
I'm going to step away. You can talk
Thank
about
you,
it.
Shirley.
You bet.
See, I've already rolled my sleeves up. Got my boots on, I'm ready for it.
were you going to read the
I'm
item?
gonna-
I think
I'm sorry, I just wasn't
I
going
was
to
waiting
jump
for you
right
to
in.
read the item. I think that's what she was, were
Well,
you waiting for?
no, they're still doing the presentation, right?
Oh.
Are we-
No, I thought we were done with that.
Are we moving on to the resolution?
Yeah, because I'm going to tell you about this program and
Right,
that
unless-
resolution.
Oh,
unless there's-
okay. See, you threw me for,
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Unless
Okay.
there's action, but there's,
There is none
yeah,
on that.
on this.
yes, so we are going to move on to item 7, which is discuss and possible action on resolution number 2016-32 to apply for TDHCA home reservation agreement. And can you define for me what TDHCA is?
I will. So TDHCA stands for the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs. I gave y'all I gave you some. I gave you this. Mine's on color because, you know, I'm a construction person. I don't do that. So TDHCA is Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs. The HOME program is in all caps. HOME is in all caps. It's a HUD word, HOME. It's not really an acronym. Nobody really knows why it's all in caps, but it's a HUD program where HUD dollars are set aside specifically for the home entitlement program. They come to the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs, those funds do, and rural communities get to access those funds. In particular, what you're interested in, home funds can be used for lots of things, right? But in a city, in a town, it's about your housing, your actual individual housing. So the home program for you would take houses that are not rehabable, like mobile homes, because HUD says you can't rehab a mobile home under this program. And we would get rid of them, and we would put a stick-built house in its place. The assistance would come to the homeowners on a mobile home in the form of a 15-year deferred forgivable loan. 15-year deferred forgivable, meaning that they don't pay anything for 15 years. What happens if I die? Because I'm old or I'm young. So in this agreement, it's a loan. In this, it's a lien. It's actually put on the. In this agreement are caveats for the state to forgive, move on, let go. The point. The only reason there's a loan thing involved in this, and it's 15 years, because HUD says that. The point is that some idiot in Austin, see, I'm pretty honest with you. Some guy in Austin, on their board of directors, somebody who has no idea what happens in rural Texas, said, well, gee, we're going to spend money and build people new houses. Well, what's going to keep them from turning around and selling them and making money off of our dime? Clearly, you don't have a clue what happens in rural Texas, because we don't leave. We live here, and we're this age, we're not going anywhere. At this age. But, so that's the point of this. And so there are caveats for forgiveness. All of this is explained to the homeowners. There is match required. And the match is going to be no more than $3,400 per house. Match can be in kind. It can be waived permits, and in kind, or in cash. Cash is always good. Cash is always taken. But there is that, and I think that's important for you to know. I am really good at getting match. I've been doing this for 15 years. I started with GrantWorks, and this is all I've done with GrantWorks is work in the home program. And I've probably built maybe 1,600 houses in 15 years throughout the state of Texas, and I'm pretty good at getting match. There's a reason I wear boots, and I beat people up to get what I want. So you would apply, if you chose to do this, you would submit an application to the state, and you will be given what's called a reservation agreement. So there's two kinds of agreements, two kinds of things you can do. Contracts with guaranteed money are not available at this time. Reservation agreements are. What that means is that here's a piece of paper, is agreement between us, the state and you, that says, yep, if you find an eligible applicant and we haven't had money available in our reservation pool, then you can access that money for that home. Turn your stuff in. I mean, we would do that for you. And you could do this on kind of, get 2 or 3 houses at a time to assist, which is great. This program takes a very long time to do. It is very intensive. It can take anywhere from a year to a year and a half to actually get an eligible applicant.
So are we as a city decide how to adopt a policy to select those eligible applicants?
As part of doing this, and I'm telling you what your policy is.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be in your grant application,
Okay, so
actually.
you will,
Mhm. Yeah, so how you do this, there are lots of ways to do it, but the least complicated way in a very complicated program is first complete eligible, first served. So the first thing that you have to do is you have to meet all of the requirements that I call the state paper requirements. You have to meet the income requirements. That's a big deal, right? I gotta get a lot, we need to know the name of the first dog you owned. There's a lot of this paper stuff. Then, and if there's a mobile home, so you gotta own the land, right? And you gotta own the mobile home. Then, it can't be the mobile home that you bought with a piece of paper. Here's a signed receipt here, right? Nope. You gotta have what's called a statement of location. Mobile homes have titles to them. Most of the time, depending on how that happens, sometimes you don't have that title, but even if you do have that title, you gotta transfer that to what's called a statement of location. It's the only acceptable document, and it ties that mobile home to the land. So we get that together, and all of this has to be clear and marketable. So the land has to have clear, marketable title to it, with the exception of having a mortgage. But we have to have permission from the person that here, from the mortgage holder to participate. We do all of this. We work with the homeowners to help them work through this. Some things we can't do, but we do all of this. So finally, that can take a long time. I'm not sure about what happened here, but where I grew up, which is in Refugio, Texas, Grandma died, and everybody knew Grandma wanted me to have that house, so I just moved into that house and went down to the tax office, told them to start sending a tax bill to me, and I own it. But that's not really how it works, legally with land, right? So we got to work through those issues and be able to get clear marketable title, which means that we get title commitments. And we're going to get title policies eventually on these parcels of land. Now that may be a little different here. I don't know if you were planned in the beginning. You have a HOA, so you might have some cleaner titles. So all of that has to happen, and the income and all of that. And then we have to do an appraisal. And then we get to submit all of that to the state. And then they get to look at it, bless it, or ask for a lot more stuff. And then they'll issue what's called a household commitment contract. It says, yep, we're committing this money to you. And then the loan documents get prepared. So it can be a very long process to get to that. Then we get the loan documents, and by this time we've already got us a builder in place. And we manage that for you as well. We use a pool of qualified builders, pre-qualified builders, because we don't want Joe with a hammer and a pickup truck to come over here and lowball something that they are not capable of doing. Plus, we're disrupting people's lives. You're asking people to move out of their homes temporarily, and that's very stressful. So we want builders that can come in here and tear down those houses and have the new house ready in 3 months. So they got to be a real builder. And we generally do them all at once. So that period of time from when we start the construction, really don't blink, because we'll be done once we actually start construction. So there's an overview of the home program.
Well, let me ask a question.
Please do.
I'm reading here where it says in the FAQ, can the homeowner sell the house after being assisted? It says the homeowner agrees to live in the home for 15 years after the house is complete.
Mm-hmm.
If they sell the house prior to the 15-year anniversary, prorated amounts are due back to the state.
Mm-hmm.
What if they lease the property, lease the home to somebody else?
Yeah, well, I'm going to answer your question, but I want you to know that how these agreements are written, you are not responsible. as a city.
Okay.
That's very important. The liability is removed from you. You're not the police of, are they fulfilling their agreement? And that was something GrantWorks fought very hard to get, to make sure that that was in place when they started doing this, because you don't have time for that. You know, and if the state wants to monitor like that, well, then they can come down here and do that. So if they're leasing it out, I mean, that's going to be between them and the state. Now, I don't know if somebody calls the state and tells them or what, you know, but we're not involved in that.
If somebody dies, the family members still there, 15?
Nobody cares,
Nobody cares.
unless somebody calls the state.
Okay.
Which is effect, title will be transferred for 15 years.
Exactly, that's exactly it. So if you went to do that in, say, year 10, 10 years have been already forgiven, so there, let's say it was $20,000 remaining, and you sold it for, you know, $30,000, state's going to take their 20, you get 10. It's like any other real estate transaction.
And you do make accommodations, like, let's say that there was a disabled vet that would fit this profile. Accommodation can be made in the house that's built, but it would be ADA compliant where the vet could get to and from.
I don't like to make promises I know I can't keep, or may not be able to guarantee I can keep. Every house that we build is going to be a visitable house, meaning if you have somebody come over that's in a wheelchair, they're going to be able to visit you. Okay? They're going to be able to get in. You're going to be able to get into your home without climbing a step. So I like to build them on the ground, but sometimes if there's flooding, you have to build a ramp. So that ramp is going to be an ADA compliant ramp. So it's not some, 45 degree. I've seen those 45 degree ramps. Woo! So there is that. All the doors in the house are going to be 36 inches wide. Every door is. All the light switches are going to be at 48 inches, and all the electrical plugs that are on the bottom are going to be at 15 inches. 15 inches up. So that's kind of where your electrical plugs are in this building. So that if you were in a chair, or you had a little trouble bending over, you don't have to bend quite so far, right? And switches, if you're in a chair, you can reach those things. Now, that being said, so that's across the board. If I know that I have an applicant that is in a wheelchair, I know that because we've taken we know this, right? I think that, if you're going to do it, you ought to try to do it right the first time around and do your very best. So if the funding is available for me, if when the bids come in and I'm able to beat up my builders, the best that I can, I generally can make other accommodations too. Like do that, I always put in a low step shower in the house. The house comes with 2 bathrooms. One has that regular tub, and then I put a low step in. But if we know that we're in a wheelchair, why don't we go ahead and try to do that roll-in? Well, that's going to cost me more money, but I'm generally pretty good at getting that, Or putting in a sink in the bathroom that's not going to have that cabinet underneath it, that hangs off the wall. So it's a little more accessible. We even look to do that stuff in the kitchen, if we can. It's a little harder in the kitchen, just because everything that we put in, because the price is so low on these houses. We build an 1,100 square foot house at $85,000. That's about, that's less than $78 a square foot for new construction. New construction goes at 120. We do a lot for a little. So you kind of, sometimes we can maybe leave some openings in those bottom cabinets if I can beat them up enough, but that's a little difficult to do because most of that stuff is bought right off the shelf.
Right.
But yes, we are going to do our very best to accommodate.
Thank you.
Do you have any other questions? Come on, y'all's counting on you.
I'm plumb out.
So we would like you to do the reservation agreement and start the process and get some applicants. In the fall, the contracts are going to come up. I probably won't recommend that you apply in the fall because you won't actually have a set of applicants yet. But then the next year, I would want you to apply. Basically with towns that I work with, I keep them in a reservation. When your reservation expires, we renew. We just keep this going. And then as you get a pool of applicants that are good, we try to get you a contract that has actual dollars associated with it. The contract awards are competitive, highly competitive. So you get points if you already have applicants ready to go. So, that's kind of how we just kind of do this rolling thing here. I want to go back to the match because I think it's really important. It is going to be a maximum of $3,400 a house in match. So I don't know what kind of fees you have in your town. But
Right now.
I saw some other things on the agenda though. So, that is something, and when we talk about in kind, you could do in kind, but that's a little difficult too. We'd have to do any in kind that the city does would have to be on a force account. So that
I'm sorry, on what?
it would have,
Your in-kind is a substitution for a donation of cash. And then the value that's assigned to that in-kind is not in our control. I mean, it may be $60 a running foot for sewer in X city, it may be 72 in another, it might be 41 in yet another.
do you have any city employees other than you?
I'm
He's not even an
contract.
employee. He's
Hey,
contract.
do you have any city employees?
Not yet.
Okay.
We do this because we enjoy it so much.
Well, I know, clearly. So that wouldn't, yeah, so what he's saying is correct. Until you get an actual paid city employee, then in kind that a city employee does would be based on their actual hourly wage.
Got it. Okay.
Like it
That's the force account.
was, well, use of a backhoe would be credited at X dollars an hour.
Yes, it would. And if you do not have it, now cities can pass their own rates. Let's say, yes, if the city has to come out and do something, use our backhoe and our equipment driver, operator, our hourly fee for that is $125 an hour. You can have your own set of rates. If you don't have your own set of rates, then the default is the FEMA rates. What FEMA's rates are for a backhoe and operator. Okay? And that's really low. It's like $60.
And you don't have to own the backhoe in order to take credit for it.
So, yeah, I'd really like to encourage cities to pass their own fee schedule because it helps you and then you don't have to do force accounting. If you don't have a fee schedule, then you have to use the FEMA rates and you have to use that hourly rate of who the operator is. I mean, and you can never get there. So if you decide that you want to apply, in your resolution, you have to name the person who's going to sign and be to execute things. Generally, that person is your city administrator, but you don't have to do that. You can also say your mayor is that person who's going to sign everything. But we have to specifically name out the title and the person's name. We also,
And if that changes, we would just amend it to.
if it changes, then we just do a letter. If the name and title both change, then we have to do a new resolution. But if it's just a change of name,
Okay.
we can just do a letter. At the same time that you do that, well, not the same time, but I would also ask you, because I know that you're going to get this reservation agreement, I would ask you to start the procurement process for hiring an administrator and manager of the home grant. What is required for you to do is I would ask you to run an ad twice in what you have designated as your local newspaper. You know, it doesn't have to be the San Antonio Light. I mean, if you designated whatever newspaper it is as your official newspaper, that is where you run your ad.
And this is for an administrator and what?
In management of the grant. It's specific to this grant. So you would run an ad twice, and you'd mail out 5 letters in addition to the ad to 5 consultants. I hope that you would mail one to me, please. Please invite me. And then you'll have a scoring criteria that goes with that. So you would get proposals in from other people, maybe not, I don't know. But if you did get more than, then you have to score them. And when you are soliciting for professional services, cost is not the factor. I mean, you can look at cost, but cost is not your deciding factor. It is your services, experience in professional services. Now, in other bids that you will go out for that's not professional services, and you can, and it is cost, like when we go to look for builders, it's cost. But if that is something that you want to do, what I will do, since this is new for you, is I would give Mr. Roberts some sample documents, and he can run from there in your direction. And if you decide you're going to do this, I'm going to need a lot more stuff from you as a city.
Of course.
Like some financials. In that resolution, it talks about $40,000. Did you see that part?
Back page.
It's on the next
Oh,
page.
man, I know.
Oh, did you change my resolution?
Oh, I didn't see the resolution. Did you have one?
I did. I sent you one.
I didn't touch your resolution. So
I sent you one.
Oh, I have this one. Yes.
Excellent. This is the resolution we need,
Okay,
right here.
I'll get a different one, sorry.
Yay!
That's the rest of it.
So my resolution also says it has four parts to it. 1, that you want to apply. 2, that you're going to provide match as required. And I'm telling you that it's going to be a maximum of $3,400 per house. Who you're designating as your authorized person. And when I sent over, I designated Mr. Roberts. And that's where I come from when there's a city administrator or a city manager. That's the person that I generally deal with. And I work for him, and he tells me what to do, and I say, yes, sir.
But again, it's not name specific. It's the position. But in this
But-
instance, you file the name,
I
but you
have-
can change it at
You
any
can
time.
change it at any time going down. Or you can change it right now and say that you want it to be the mayor, if that's what you want to do. But it works for me, whatever you want to do. And why they want the name and the position is because they're legal documents, and this is their legal department. They want to know whose name are
Okay.
we putting on it. And so and authorizes them that person to execute all documents, to execute the loan agreements, do all of that stuff.
Okay.
And then the 4th part of it says that you are willing to use general funds, brace yourselves. General funds in the amount of $40,000 as cash leverage to pay program costs before reimbursements are received from the state. You're not going to have to reach into your coffers and ever put out $40,000. I'll promise you that. I guarantee it. Here's what happened.
Well, it says not to exceed.
But you're not going to have to do that. Here's what happened. not this recent, couple of years ago when the government shut down, but a long time ago when the government shut down, I think it was under Reagan. I may be wrong about the president, but it was a while back and the government shut down and they didn't plan that really well. When they shut it down, that money wasn't coming, there was no money coming anywhere, so these state programs couldn't get money from HUD. And it went on for months, and so builders and people couldn't get paid. So then they said, oh, well, we want you to know that you've got some money in case something horrible happens like that again. But how this program really works is that the builder builds the house, the builder gives me an invoice. We submit the invoice to the state deposits the money in your account, and then you write the check to the builder. Oh, and being misleading. There are two things that you're going to have to write checks for before you get reimbursed. One is to purchase the title policy, but we'll already know that we're assisting that household when we do that. And the second is to pay for the appraisal. And we're already going to know that we're assisting that household before we do that. And those two things can be reimbursed. Or they can be used with your match.
The city would be paying for the title policy?
Well, what she just said is they can be reimbursed or they can be counted towards our
Or it
match.
can, right, it can be reimbursable or count as match. It's up to you to decide that.
And our match does not exceed 3,400.
It will not exceed 3,400.
Okay.
So say, I don't know if this is a question for Ken, but like the 40, not to exceed 40,000, if that wasn't budgeted for, then is it budgeted?
No, it
once
doesn't
the
have to be,
grant
it does
is-
not have to be, it doesn't have
Okay.
to be encumbered in any way. You don't have to take
That's where-
$40,000 out of your $277,000. I'll let that down. You don't have to take that, set it aside, encumber it, and put it in a separate account at all. You don't have to do that at all.
Okay,
What you are going to have to provide
okay. With the
is
local match. that's
some
what-
financial statements to me showing me that you have access to a minimum of $40,000 of unencumbered funds.
Okay.
And then there's a bunch of other stuff I'm going to need to.
Okay.
But I'll work with Mr. Roberts on getting that.
So Cassandra, is that,
This
that's the
is-
one she actually sent?
Yes.
So that's what we should be
Yeah, this-
using instead
so
of
wait,
this one?
here's-
Thank you. Oh, well, that's very nice.
We try to do that when you work with us, as you get to know us, because we know that you all don't do this full time. I mean, you're volunteers, you're not getting paid to do this. So we generally try to give you everything that you need up front. You know, like if I'm going to send you an item to go on the agenda, I'll generally send you some suggested wording for it. Not mandatory to use it, just suggestions. And here's a resolution in a Word document that you can then adjust and put your own resolution numbers on or whatever you want, but it gives you a basis. And we'll try to do that with everything we do for you.
So we need to put our resolution number on this one if we adopt it, correct?
Yes, and then, I don't know if item number 8 needs to be discussed
Before we do that one?
before the approval of
Okay.
7.
That's not for me.
No, okay.
I'm fine with that not happening. I'm fine with the way that, are you the attorney?
Yes.
Yes.
Because does 7 does not designate grant works for submitting the application on that resolution?
We had a separate resolution.
You do, but I don't have to.
Yeah, that I would consider theirs,
So,
the ones that they,
can-
what
can-
the one Ken gave me.
If I may. Technically, just like I can't be involved in hiring myself, in this particular grant, I can't put it together for you either.
No, or your form.
But there is nothing that precludes me, and the state is very well aware of this, of putting together a complete sample package.
So yeah, we would consider agenda item number 8 first, which is discuss a possible action on resolution number 2016-33, designating GrantWorks, Inc. as the city's grant advisor and grant application preparer including but not limited to all community development block grants.
I would move that we designate GrantWorks Incorporated as the city's grant advisor and grant application preparer, including but not limited to all community development block grants.
We have a motion by Alderman Tremblay to designate GrantWorks. Do we have a second? Alderwoman Matawala seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Now, does she need
Well,
to
say it
approve the
again.
resolution?
I only heard two.
She just
Aye.
said to grant them, to
Let's do that
accept
again.
and approve.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All
Mayor,
opposed?
can you specify the resolution number if there's?
We need to approve the resolution.
2016-33.
Okay, so he's going to approve the resolution, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we have that one right here.
Next section.
Okay, can we get another vote on that? I want to make sure we're clear. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? The motion carries. Okay, let me go ahead and sign this one. Okay, so we will move to item 7 then, which is, I just had it here a minute ago. Right here. So item 7 is resolution number 2016-32, which is to apply for TDHCA home reservation agreement. Do you have any discussion on that?
Did you need a,
Just to be clear on the matching fund is based on population, correct?
Yes, it
It's
is.
based on, we keep saying $3,400, but it's actually based on,
Yes.
well,
It's
depending on
popula-
if the population jumps to 3,600, then 36,000, then it would be 3,600. So
No,
1%,
up to 15%.
up to 15%.
Uh-huh. So it's going to be 1% for every 1,000 you have over 3,000.
Yeah. Okay.
But then it maxes out at 12.
That maxes at 12.
Yes, 12%.
Thank you.
But we'll go with what we go in with now. And so that won't change for you for the duration of this. I can't see it. I mean, you think you're going to have 1,000 people move in over the next few years? No.
Unless it's
We
another
don't have that much room.
Okay. And I also want to, with this too, we need to, with that other resolution, with this, and the procurement has to start. So I'll work with Mr. Roberts and all of this. And I want you to be fully informed. I want you to ever come to me and say, hey man, I feel blindsided. So,
I won't submit anything without it going through the city attorney and you before it goes forward.
but the selection of contractors isn't until after the grant is awarded, or?
Building contractors?
Yes, when we're doing the procurement, is that
Which,
gonna?
okay, so you can
After.
you can hire me, if you had gone through the procurement, you could hire me today
Okay.
to be your grant administrator for the home program.
Okay.
That's the
Oh, you're
procurement
talking about
she's
the
talking
procurement.
about.
Okay, okay, I thought you meant.
That's that procurement.
No, no, no.
For
That's
the
separate.
builders,
On the left, okay.
for the builders, generally how we do it, for small places like this, because they don't have a full-fledged procurement department in place, is we work on that, a list of pre-qualified builders, and we handle it for them. We run the ads, we have the bids, it's a sealed bid, we have them delivered to the city hall. run that, they'll be opened at a certain time, certain date, at a certain place.
Okay,
You know, that, all that stuff is in it, and then we open them.
okay, I thought you were talking about.
Yeah.
That were good, okay.
Well, I'm developing my relationship with you, too.
Okay, so I'll go back to item 7 on the agenda. Discuss some possible action on resolution number 2016-32 to apply for TDHCA home reservation agreement. Would anybody like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to apply for TDHCA home regulation agreement.
There are some, I guess, the designations that the council needs to make with the motion before
They're
approving the
already-
resolution.
Oh, the way it's presented, though? We
Yes.
can't just accept it the way it's
Well,
presented?
I would state who is the, I guess the contact is Ken,
Yes.
the,
Okay, so
the local match.
you want me just to read, it's short, just go ahead and read it. Okay, so resolution by the City of Sandy Oaks, Texas. Whereas the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs, TDHCA, has notified the public of a funding availability to benefit lower-income residents of Texas communities through the Texas Home Investment Partnerships Program reservation system. And whereas the Texas Home Program has identified significant housing needs in the city, particularly for the rehabilitation and construction of owner-occupied housing. And whereas the city wishes to assist our lower-income homeowners while simultaneously enhancing the health, economic, and aesthetic quality of the community. Now therefore be it resolved, 1, the city acknowledges and agrees to a request made by the city administrator to apply for a home program contract and/or reservation agreement. 2, match, if applicable, will be provided in accordance to 10 TAC for households assisted through the Texas Home Program. Number 3, the city designates the city manager, Ken Roberts, as the person authorized to sign all forms related to the preparation of and to execute any and all home agreements, including loan documents and grant agreements. Number 4, the city will use general funds up to the amount of $40,000 as a cash reserve to pay program costs before reimbursements are received from the State of Texas Home Program. The only thing I would change on here is where it says city manager.
Has to be
We need to
administrator.
change that to, does he need to be identified as the interim administrator, interim city
I think since
administrator?
that's what his contract.
Mhm.
Yes.
That's what the contract.
Okay, so I'm going to modify item 3 on here. Yes, ma'am.
If we call him the interim city administrator, and then you get a permanent city administrator, then
The
we have
title,
to go
we
through
have to do the whole thing.
It changes the title completely, you have to get a whole new resolution now. But if you call him the city administrator, and then you get rid of him and get a permanent one in, not that I want you to go away or anything,
It's okay.
then it's a matter of just changing the name, and the mayor can just write a letter saying, here's our new guy. So I'm asking if you keep it at that, y'all all know who he is, but that he's interim.
So what do you want me to call him?
I just want you to call him the city administrator, or
Okay.
a manager.
I
What
mean,
is
I
he?
think for the
He's not a
title
city manager because
purposes,
that, we're
it's-
not home rule city.
Okay, so he's the city administrator. I would just ask you to just not call him an interim in the resolution. The city administrator, period.
Okay, so, but when you, I mean, so it doesn't matter if it's interim city administrator in the
He's filling the
resolution,
position.
but
Right.
with the
position.
grant.
Got it.
Right.
Authorize the
Okay.
position,
Right.
I just,
so.
I think that's.
Yeah.
Okay.
I deal with a lot of people who are at state agencies who are, for lack of a better word, somewhat anal retentive. And they really just get into the little blocks and the dots and the boxes and the details, and if it just doesn't match completely, then it just is no good.
Okay, so now, would you like, no, this is just the one she did. It's basically the same. So we modified item 3. The city designates the city administrator, Ken Roberts, as the person authorized to sign all forms related to the preparation of and to execute any and all home agreements, including loan documents and grant agreements. So that's the only change we've made on there. Would anybody like to make a motion?
Number 7,
Number 7.
the same motion.
Oh, you made a motion, I'm sorry.
Just want to specify as read by,
I'm sorry.
the mayor into the minutes.
To approve the resolution?
Motion to approve what Ms. Mayor Ball said.
What he said.
We have a motion by Alderwoman Matawala to approve resolution number 2016-32 with the amendment. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Alderman Friendly, second. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Opposed?
Opposed?
What's the count? The motion carries. We have 3 in favor. Alderwoman Tanguma has voted against. Okay. Item 9, excuse me, will we need to have this retyped and sent to you?
I can email it to, who should I be communicating with? With you?
Please.
Directly through to you? Okay.
Everybody just pointed at me, so that.
Okay, great. So what I'll do is I can make these adjustments for you, Mr. Roberts, and then I will email them to you, and then you can execute them.
Perfect. And I put our resolution number on the top there for you.
Okay. I'm assuming that you're being kept in the loop on all of this, so I know what you want. So, okay. All right, very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And I will be sending over some information, a form that we need, just like EIN numbers and DUNS numbers and things like that for our records. And we'll put you on the list for the surveys as quickly as possible.
Perfect.
We'll start finding out what they say your LMI is and how they arrived at that. Will be
Okay.
interesting.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very
Thank you
much.
all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Before I leave, I'm sorry, and thank you very much, but I remember the most important thing I wanted to tell you guys. So there's an association in Texas called the Association of Rural Communities in Texas, ARCIT. It didn't cost very much to join it. It's, I think it's based on your population size. This has nothing to do with GrantWorks at all. I'm just telling you this, okay? And I think it's maybe $200, $300 a year, all right?
Market.
Yeah, and it is the only organization in Texas that is only about rural Texas. And they've got an executive director who's out there on the Capitol beating on people's doors and talking to them about our needs in rural Texas. I say ours because I live in a place of 278 people. So I think I'm kind of rural. So I just want to encourage y'all to look into that.
Perfect.
Their yearly meeting is going to be in San Antonio, and I'll send you the dates and stuff on
Yeah, but if you
that. I
can
think it's October.
do that, it's good for you because you have a bunch of rural communities that are telling Texas, look out for us.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right, thank you very
Have a
much.
good evening.
Thank you much.
Item number 9 on the agenda is unfinished business. Discuss, consider, and approve an ordinance requiring a building permit for any new residential or commercial structure within the city limits. I'm going to pull this one from the agenda. And we will address it in the future. Item 10 is also unfinished business. Discussion, possible action on ordinance number 2016-58, an ordinance adopting the 2015 edition of the International Building Code, excuse me, and repealing all ordinances adopting prior editions of the International Building Code. I'll let Tremblay take this one?
See, I think we passed the earlier edition, so we're just updating the ordinance and adopting the 2015 edition of the International Building Code. I think this actually reinforces what we will do as far as the building code. This is just another building block, if you will, that will reinforce the building permits.
And I know Cassandra did some research on this. And there were some copyright issues in using the code, and we needed to purchase.
Either purchase or also become a member of the International Code Council
And I think
to
you said
enforce
it's
these.
$385 or something like that?
I want to say it's about $100 for each issue.
For each
I think
issue.
for the building code is about $100, like $101. I don't know what a discounted rate would be.
Can we get it digitally? Can we get it digital?
There were digital copies. I saw a digital package for all the codes, but that was about $1,000, I believe. So I'm sure they would sell it digital. I just didn't see that. I just saw a book. So I don't know if a digital copy came with that or
Well,
not.
if we can just keep that one in the intermunicipal hall.
Buying a copy just to make it.
Yeah. So it's $100.
I believe the IBC was like $101. But there are some, when this was considered at the last meeting, the ordinance had some proposed amendments because there were a lot of building permit requirements that the city didn't have or doesn't have the staffing to enforce those, and to kind of determine whether someone was following the IBC. So there were some like proposed amendments as far as deleting a code enforcement officer, the need to apply for a permit. So those may be something to consider if, I guess, if the code is purchased and we need to make deletions to what is adopted.
So we can adopt the building code and make amendments to the building code.
Yes. And then the ordinance that council would adopt the 2015 and then have everything that specifically that would be deleted from the code or added to it based on whatever the city needs.
Yeah, I'm looking here. It says membership is $135 a year, and each code is about $100. So you have the membership plus the different code.
So we'll be talking about the plumbing code, the electrical code.
The residential code, the fire
Residential
code is, you can either buy it bulk or just whatever codes
So
the city needs.
bulk with the
I think that was about 1,000.
1,000. And what do we have budgeted for clerical office supplies? Can this be purchased under?
Well, it could fall into the marshals for code enforcement. So we have the money available in the marshals supplies and set up to do that.
So in adopting the building code, if we were to get all the codes that we need to purchase, let's say we just purchase the manuals, the books themselves, so we have some guidance, and then we pass it in IRC once we can research. And this is, I think, what we talked about when I initially brought it up, said that the guidance is really not there, and you can't get it online, so we actually need the codes. And I'm sure Ken is probably more familiar with a lot of this stuff, but and we talked briefly about looking at some of the smaller cities that are around us who have similar type residences, businesses, and looking at what they've adopted. But I think we still need to have the hard copy of the books, I guess. We still need to look at that so that we have something to fall back on. to enforce whatever we would adopt.
Yeah, and to be available for the public, you know, when wherever it's stored, so the public can come and
Right.
look at a hard copy of the code.
Right.
So can we authorize the purchase of the codes? Or do we need to come back and reverse that?
I think with the adoption of the International Building Code, it would then lead to having the publication of it.
We would have to-
Yeah,
natural-
then, yes, it would kind of be a result of it. But if there are any amendments to it, that would be something that would have to be adopted separately and considered by the council. So that may need to come at a later time.
So we can't.
And that would specifically address the uniqueness of some of the structures here as to where, you know, you wouldn't do something onerous like, say, it must be covered on 3 sides with masonry, whatever.
Correct. I think we did pass the National Fire Code, and we passed like a 2012 edition, which, I mean, I was able to buy a 2012 edition online through, I don't remember where I bought it, but it was like $15 or $20. It wasn't expensive. And most of the cities were adopting the 2012 edition. And we spoke also about the fire code, and there's I think the 2015 is the newest edition for the fire code. I mean, we could possibly look online, and we might be able to find these codes cheaper online
Well,
through other outlets.
maybe through Amazon, but as far as the concern is the copyright release, is in order to enforce it, they have to give us the copyright release to use it. So we can't, if we were able to find it like on Amazon or at some other bookstore, we wouldn't have that release from them.
Well, then I would move that we adopt the 2015 International Building Code and authorize the city secretary to make the purchase of the actual code itself.
And approve the ordinance.
Right.
Okay.
Making a motion to approve the ordinance and authorize you, the secretary, to purchase the code, the 2015 edition.
My question is, since we don't have a municipal office, if someone wants to see the code,
The secretary
They would just have to contact.
She's a record keeper.
I know, I realize that, Alderman Tremblay, but I'm saying she works out of her home.
Well, I think we're a little ways down the line as far as adopting a permitting. And hopefully by the time we get to that point, we'll have a municipal office. But this would be the first step. We're going to need the plumbing code, the electrical code, the IRC, International Residential Code. There are others that we'll have to tackle at either the next meeting or after that. So there's more to it than just this one code.
And again, even though we adopted, we still need the enforcement capability to enforce any of it, correct? So having it available, I mean, we can make arrangements for people to see it if they're interested in it. I mean, I don't think we're going to
Meet on the street corner.
We can do that.
I think our main concern right now would be commercial building. Because
Right.
we do have residential buildings going up, homes, residences, and hopefully the builders are following some type of code or safety. At least they're taking safety into their concern. But again, I think it's just the beginning of preparing the residential code, which will be unique for our city. It's not going to be a carbon copy to someone else's.
And and Ken may have some suggestions, but without, I mean, I think it may be hard to procedurally enforce all the provisions, if that's what the city is adopting, for contractors who are trying to build. It
Right.
may be a very,
And I've looked at some of the IRCs,
Okay.
and some of them are only 2 or 3 pages.
but just as far as having the burden be on the city to make sure that builders are following the IBCs, that's kind of concerned with without any amendments to it, without having the code and making any amendments to it, just adopting it as it's written. So that's just I don't know if Ken has some suggestions or kind of how.
Follow suit, like with the new fire code, a single-family residence over 4,000 square feet has to be sprinklered. That's onerous. I mean,
So then we should just we should just make a purchase of it for now and not adopt the ordinance.
That's what I.
And then build the ordinance.
Then build the
Right,
ordinance.
and then
Yeah,
build
we'll
the
just build the
ordinance.
IRC.
Yeah, that's-
We'll adopt certain aspects of it, so I would
Okay. You wanna-
amend my motion
That's kind of what I heard.
to authorize the secretary to purchase the 2015 edition of the International Building Code.
Okay. We have a motion by Alderman Tremblay to authorize the city clerk to purchase the 2015 edition of the International Building Code. Do we have a second?
I second.
Alderwoman Gillespie seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
We're gonna have to go, I'm not feeling well.
Okay.
I'm feeling very dizzy.
Okay.
Be careful.
It's 8:15 and Alderwoman Tangoman has left the meeting. Okay. Item 11, unfinished business. Discuss possible action on a proposal contract by Two Ponies Excavation Corporation for reclamation of the Putt-Putt Golf Course in Waterwood Park. First, I'd like to thank Mr. Crickmer for assisting. He was kind enough to reclaim the carpeting that had been pulled up by another resident. So that's one thing that the city does not have to address. So thank you for that. And the reason that this is on the agenda is, once again, because in trying to get insurance coverage for the park, that is a hazard. The insurance, TML insurance agent has indicated that being used for skateboarding is a liability to the city. So to minimize any risk or liability, I think it's kind of important that we do something to address that issue. So we have materials available in the park that can work as a good base to start the process. And I think Mr. DeBold, is that right? Gosh, I'm so sorry, is here. Is there anything that you would like to add or share with us about this project?
Well, on the reclamation, there's 3 or 4 spots where the holes of the Putt-Putt golf course were that hold water. And we'll drill 7/8 inch diameter holes through the concrete where it doesn't hold water, become stagnant for mosquitoes and such. But it'll be a complete manicure of the area, trimming the trees all the way up. There's a little wash or creek that goes through there with the bridge. It'll go all the way to the back fence to where that area up to the tree line is completely taken care of. Inside the Putt-Putt course itself are several different islands. It'll be fully manicured, edged all the way down to where Miss Gillespie and I looked at it a couple times, to where it can actually be somewhat of a nature trail.
Right.
Where people can actually go there. It's a real nice, quiet area, and it'll eventually look like a garden. It's taken care of properly.
And so the materials that we're looking at using to fill that in would be what?
It looks like a certain type of crushed limestone that they used in paving the roads. There's approximately 10 yards of that. There's probably 12 to 15 yards of reclaimed asphalt next to it. And then there's actually what used to be hot mix asphalt. And all of that can be mixed together. There's plenty of material right there, and it can be all mixed together and moved to the area to where it's a consistent, uniform texture. You know, it's not just one area that's one certain type of crushed limestone, one that's a certain type of asphalt, and a crushed asphalt, or milled asphalt, I'm sorry.
I believe there may end up being as many as 10 dump truck loads of the material
Okay.
from the street.
That's enough to do the whole.
Mhm.
Yeah, there should be plenty of material.
And
that needs
left
to be
over.
done.
That's what they were estimating that they would pull out, was about 10 dump trucks full. When I was down there today, there were already three loads had been brought in.
Okay. So your bid did not include materials, just
No,
the machinery and the labor to do the job?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have an estimate on a time frame for that to be completed?
We can start on the 19th of this month with a 3-day time frame. If all goes well, it can be completed within 2 working days.
Okay.
So being the material is there, there's no cost for you to be moving or mixing the material? Or
No, sir, that's all included in the bid.
So the bid here, it's the only bid, I can say how much it is? Yes. Okay. The total bid was for $3,750. You know, I don't know what the liability insurance quote would be, but something tells me it would probably be that or more, and then it would be a recurring annual fee for the insurance. And it's an area that's not being used, well, sort of.
It hasn't been used for its intended use for many, many years.
How are we funding this?
How are we
How
funding
will we
this one?
fund this?
I don't have the budget with me, so I
All
don't.
right.
Because we don't have a park budget.
Well, isn't this a health and safety?
I'm just wondering if we could go against the cost of insurance, but I don't know that we put enough money in there for that.
Your deductible with TML is what, 5,000? So one shot on a claim would exceed the bid.
Right. I don't know what the deductible is. I want to say it's 2,500, but I could be wrong. So general liability, would it be under a general liability? We'll see, but we don't have the
You have
coverage.
anything coverage on it now?
Right, so I don't know what the deductible would be on that.
You'd be liable for the entire amount if it wasn't covered.
Right. So in order to, oh, wow. That looks remarkably like the one I have.
CDO.
So.
Don't complain about people with OCD.
So we have insurance right here. So we've We budgeted pretty much what we needed for the year on the insurance.
Repairs and maintenance.
But we don't have, because see, we didn't have that area when we built the budget. That was the issue. That's all the same thing. So without a line item on the budget, we really can't authorize the expenditure. We'd have to modify the budget first.
Unless there's somewhere to take it from, but if there's not.
I mean,
Is
it can it be taken out of the reserves?
It needs to be budgeted on.
Maybe it's a separate line item.
And a budget amendment.
Well,
We can have it on the next one.
yes, we can do that. Okay. So at this
So,
time,
I mean, I just don't know where we would put it. I don't, that's what I'm saying. I'd like to find a place where we could just take it out.
right.
Thank you.
Okay,
So
with
pull
that-
it?
Yeah, with that said, I think we're going to have to, we want to do a motion to postpone, or we're just going to pull it?
The motion to postpone for the next
The next meeting.
meeting.
Okay. Well, will somebody make a motion?
Okay. Move that we postpone item 11 till the July meeting.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Trimley to postpone item 11 to the July meeting. Do we have a second?
I second that.
Alderwoman Madiwala, second. All in favor, say aye.
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 There's only 3 of you here.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, item 12, discussion and possible action on an interlocal agreement between the City of Sandy Oaks and the Texas Municipal League Intergovernmental Risk Pool for Workers' Compensation Insurance Coverage. So we actually have the interlocal agreement here. And this was really brought up the first time because we were going to be paying Charlotte. And then we have Ken, but does is it going to cover contract employees?
It usually
No.
does.
I don't think it does.
So I was wondering because Donna asked how many employees we have.
We don't have
any
any.
employees, and I think that the liability insurance is going to require you to have 2 employees.
The workers' compensation?
Workers' comp,
Right.
So I don't know why we would need this. We might table this until next fiscal year.
Well, you know, the original intent was to have it for the marshal and the city clerk.
I understand the
Yeah,
marshal's not fully functional
Right.
yet either, so it's,
Okay,
I don't know that we need to tackle this one.
okay. And
So I would move that we postpone. How about we just table it and bring it up again at a later time?
want to table this one?
Yes.
Have a motion by Alderman Trimley to table item 12. Do we have a second?
I second that.
Alderwoman Madiwala seconds. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? And the motion carries. Okay, item 13, discussion and possible action to approve the additional general liability insurance coverage for the park and the new municipal building. I'm going to pull that one for now because we don't have the building in place yet. We have an unfinished item that we need to address, possibly for the reclamation of the Putt-Putt Golf Course before we even want to pursue liability coverage. So we'll pull this one for now.
Tabling it. Or-
No, I'm just going to pull it, no. Item 14, we're going to postpone till July. We have a few things we need to also address on that one. Do we need a motion to postpone, or I can just make that?
I would make a motion to postpone it
Okay.
to
14.
And it doesn't need to be until July, just indefinitely or until July, if that's when it wants to be brought up, considering,
July is probably better.
I move to postpone item 14 till the July council meeting.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Trimley to postpone item 14 to July. Do we have a second?
Second.
Which one?
Good.
Alderwoman Mapple seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Okay, 13, was that just pulled?
Yes, I just
Okay.
pulled it, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, item 15, mayor's comments on the current road repair project. That is underway. It's been slow getting off the ground because of the weather, but the crews are out there in full force working on that. And the expectation is that they will be done by the end of the week. Is that correct?
That's what he was saying.
Okay, so they're running full force now to get this taken care of. Item 16, mayor's comments on Texas Commission of Environmental Quality Investigation. Phase 1 assessment has been completed. Phase 2 has not yet been authorized. I'm trying to negotiate some additional, possibly better pricing with the contractor on that. But they are requiring, or the recommendation was to bore five tests they were also going to do a center. They have a very specific area they're looking at, and they were going to put a barrel to catch runoff, when it rains. I forget how the whole thing works, and then they were going to have 5 other core samples that they were going to do, and I think it was down to 30 feet is where they were going. And then that would, we would have that done. It takes 2 to 3 months for that phase of the project to be completed, and we would get the results back. And Robert Kistner is keeping in contact with TCEQ on our behalf, so we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. The plan is to authorize the second phase, probably later this week, early next week. Item 17, Mayor Ball's comments on the current financial audit project. Had the pleasure of spending the first part of my Monday with Charlotte and Ken and 2 auditors. And this one will go, the first one will go pretty easily, but it was a very eye-opening experience as far as what's required going forward. There's a lot that needs to be done for the next audit. And the fact that we were new, that we didn't have a lot of things that they were questioning, it was doesn't apply, will apply in the next go-round. So I think we got some really good information from them on what we need to be looking at doing and gathering now in anticipation for the next audit. And I think, have you provided them, Charlotte, with all
Not
the
yet,
things that
no.
they asked for?
Not yet.
Okay. They're looking for a few contracts, and they're looking for like the ESD agreement, which that's online. That's the resolution that we adopted.
Are all the aldermen, women, council members going to be called for?
I don't think all of them. They talked to Charlotte and Ken and myself. They called and requested 2 others.
You got me?
You and Doug were also offered up. And they were looking more for those that were in place in that time period. So I haven't talked to Doug to find out if he actually has connected with them or not. So anyway, one thing that they did say was that whenever we're doing reimbursements, requesting reimbursements of the city, that we cannot reimburse for any sales tax that's paid. So, just a FYI. But yeah, other than that, it was just, there was a lot of information that they asked us for, a whole list of things, and I think you just have a few contracts
Yeah.
and things to give them, and the anticipation is it's going to take 3 months maybe
Yeah.
to get this all done, so they'll check into the bank accounts.
And I did get a letter saying that we're tax exempt. It's an official letter.
Perfect.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I'll get a copy to,
And
Make
with
it-
that letter, you can produce a form that you present to a vendor who
Right.
then in fact will not charge sales
Right.
tax.
You would have a tax number?
Yes.
Well, by default, we are tax exempt.
Right.
Yeah.
but a lot of those people want something
They
in
do,
writing, yeah.
yes. Okay, item 18, Mayor Ball's comments on the municipal office project. The clubhouse is down. It is, the last that I was told is everything is gone. The last piece is the actual floor of the mobile home. And I know Alderwoman Gillespie was down there today. Do you have an update? I mean,
Last I was down there, there was just the floor left,
Just the floor?
and of course the beams and stuff, but the rock skirting's gone. It's down to the
I try to
last.
go down and look at it. Every time I get down there.
The gate's
locked.
locked. Well, the gate is locked. And I guess Austin has left. The area around Prelude Pass has been blocked. There was a resident who donated some telephone poles, and he was able to use those to set bollards along there. And then he's built a berm up and some of the old concrete pieces that were out in the park. So that's going to prevent vehicular traffic in there. You can still walk through there, but,
Do we need to put signs?
well,
You don't think
there
they're
was a
required
sign
now?
that was put up.
There was a sign there was
You
a
can't-
sign at Doe Run, and both of them that were stolen.
Yeah, it's just, there's no accounting for manners out here.
The good news is the only tracks that were on the walking path today were bicycle tracks.
So,
But there are more, he's going to put in more, he's got more
telephone poles.
telephone poles. He's not finished yet.
And it looks really good. If you've been down there to check it out, you haven't been down there, you should go look at it. It looks really good. And the gate, we're keeping the gate locked to keep people out just because there is construction going on. There's trucks and, it's just not a safe place for people to go. The building itself, we received our delivery order. We need to be working with the transporter, which Ken and I are kind of tag teaming on that to get, there's been a little confusion as to the size of the building. We were originally led to believe it was 50 by 60. It's not 50 by 60. It's 36, yeah. Well, because 50 would mean that it is a triple wide, which would incur an additional floor movement. So, but it's not 50 wide. So, but we are working to get all those details nailed down. The bid is for the transporter to go break down the unit, secure it, bring it up here and set it up. We want them to come to a site visit first, just to make sure that we understand the path they're going to come in. The city would be responsible for trimming any trees that may need to be trimmed in order for them to place the unit. And then they would be able to give us some idea of what support structures or however they're going to, they'll do all that, but they would be able to tell us what's needed. And let's something else about that. Oh, my thought was, this was what I was going to talk with them about, was to come in New Mathis Road, because that is an 80-foot wide road. All the other roads are only 60, so it's a wider area. Go down to Hickory Shadow and go straight across Waterwood Pass to Doe Run, which is on the other side. My concern was, it's all sandy over there. There is no paved road, but in talking with the transporter, they can use dozers to move that, so that became a non-issue. Now that we know it's not 50 foot wide, it may come through the front gate, I don't know.
I can't remember the measurements on that.
There's more trees there to deal with, but, so that's kind of where we're at with that. I certainly hope to have this in place.
It's those 36 by 2.
Yes.
What's the measurement on the building here?
It's very similar in size to what the clubhouse was, correct?
The clubhouse is 20-something feet deep. I can't remember how
So
wide.
what if two companies is not going to use all that stuff that's there, we could have that spread that
Well, sure.
before they bring it in?
If we need to prep the site, I mean, we have the materials down there to do that. So.
That may cost us money.
Yeah.
But if
There were
there's-
always going to be incidentals that we
Yeah.
couldn't plan for.
I think it'd be great if you put whatever's left
Yeah.
to spread there and have a good base.
So the
I
plan,
think there are concrete runners under the existing one.
concrete, yeah.
That's what I've been told. And the steel posts that the other one is sitting on, they're in
They're
concrete.
anchored into the concrete.
Oh, so there's
Yeah,
on the white that's there?
Yes,
Really?
yeah.
Yes,
That's why
and they
it's
have
down to the floor, 'cause-
clamps, they have brackets that actually fit over, it's like an I-beam, and then each one is bolted down with 4 bolts.
That's gonna have to be cut out.
Yeah, they're going to cut it out. He's going to cut it down to the concrete.
And the concrete is below grade level.
So we're moving along on that, working
And so
with,
what's the delivery date?
well, we have not set the delivery date yet.
Do we have a window?
We're hoping to have it start movement sometime late next week. So certainly within the next couple of weeks, we hope to have it. I mean, I don't know how much time the transporter needs to prep it on that end before they can actually, hit the road with it. We'll know more about that when we meet with them. But yeah, I'm expecting next 2 to 3 weeks that thing is placed and ready.
He's got to do some welding on site for a ton, pull it with,
Down there?
Yeah, down there.
plus the dismantle and then that sheeting that they put on it prior to
And
training.
you say the clubhouse was 24 wide,
Deep,
deep,
hmm
so pretty much.
about 24. I don't have the measurements. Oh my God.
Okay, so where exactly this was a lot wider?
Yeah, this is going to be deeper, and
A little
I
bit
think
longer.
it's a little, I don't think this one is quite as wide as what was in there.
But it's
So we may come out with very close to the same square footage, but I think the clubhouse was much wider than 50. Much wider.
Okay. Item 19, Mayor Ball comments on election for November. We have 3 positions that will be up for filling through the elections in November. The mayor's position, place, is it 4? Alderwoman Madiwala, and place 2 is Alderman Thomasini. So we have 3 positions that will be coming up, and there will be some deadlines that'll be posted. I want to say June 23rd is the final date for us to post for when we will be accepting applications.
It's the city's deadline to give notice of, application
Okay.
time.
Okay, So I think that's June 23rd, if I'm not mistaken.
That'll be posted on the website. and-
We'll do it on the website, we'll do it in the paper. We can also approach Dollar General and Valero and see if they would allow us to post them there as well.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be a problem. The last time I posted something down there, they were like, sure.
Yeah, well, and I'm wanting to do a newsletter, so I'll include that in the newsletter as well. But I wanted to bring that up today because we won't be having another meeting before that day comes, so. um, And with that, anyone want to address item 20? Okay. Alderwoman Matawala has made a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
I'll give that to Alderwoman Gillespie.